Hey friends, welcome to Bokeh, a podcast exploring the ever-blurring lines between the personal and business lives of professional photographers. This is your host, Nathan Holritz, and I'm bringing you a special episode of the Bokeh Podcast today called Workflow Wednesday. During these special edition episodes, myself and my co-hosts will focus on helping you develop more efficient daily and weekly workflows around post-production, communication, task and project management, time management, file and image management, and yes, the list does go on. We're going to save you an incredible amount of time in your work week, and we promise not to be too nerdy. This podcast is brought to you by Photographers Edit, custom image editing for the professional photographer. Just visit photographersedit.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back for Workflow Wednesday.
Yes.
Here with Haylee Gaffin and Rich and Heather Smith. How have you guys been? And I'm going to just immediately kind of direct this conversation to Rich and Heather because they have kind of the biggest recent news to share with us. How have you guys been?
Good. You're going to make everybody think that Heather's pregnant, and she's not.
No. Just to be clear.
Yeah, you have to be clear. She's not pregnant. No, we're doing good.
You guys just got back from a really big vacation. Where did you go?
We did. This was a really meaningful trip, the most meaningful trip that I think we've ever taken. All growing up as a little girl, as long as I can remember, my dad's biggest bucket list item was a trip to Alaska, specifically an Alaskan cruise. And about a year and a half ago, around Christmas time, Rich and I and my mom started talking, and we're like, if not now, when? Like, let's make this happen. Let's fulfill this. None of us are getting any younger. You know, it's just that realization that something like that is just going to take a little bit of proactive effort and planning and just seizing the day, you know? Mm-hmm. I don't think any of us are ever going to be sitting around going, gosh, what do we do with all this extra money? So we're just going to plan it. We're going to schedule it.
I do.
We're going to save. We're going to plan. We're going to save. We're going to do, we're going to book it, and we're going to surprise my dad with it. And we're going to go do this incredible thing. And so, it was really cute surprising my dad with it because it just took a while for him to get it. And then once he got it, that he was going to go on an Alaskan cruise, it took a little bit more time for him to actually understand that we were all going with him. Yeah. So
that was much fun.
You were just sending him by himself or something?
He thought it was just he and my mom.
Okay.
So it was just a meaningful, incredible, I don't use the word epic lightly.
It was epic. It was epic.
It was.
I have to say, the other night, I was with Jill, for context, for those listening in, my girlfriend, Jill, and I happened to jump on Facebook. I think maybe we were looking at something, and I saw Heather's post pop up, and I was like, oh, they posted pictures. It was like 148 pictures all at once. And we literally just like scrolled through and looked at them. Yeah, it was great though, because I wanted to see what you guys have been up to.
I felt like the only people that would make it through that album, I'm not normally that excessive, but I have a couple aunts who actually have gone on an Alaskan cruise and wanted to see pictures, but they live in California. And I was like, listen, I'll just put this up here. Believe it or not, that wasn't all the pictures.
I'm not surprised.
That was me being a little selective, but I did put too many. It's a little ridiculous, but I thought, you know what? No one's going to force people to look at them if they don't want to see them. So,
it's beautiful. And by the way, I know that there was conversation beforehand. All those photographers listening in may be curious. Did you take a quote unquote professional camera, or did you just go with the iPhone?
Ooh.
That's a great question.
Great question, Nathan.
So I will say this.
The best purchase.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, Rich and I are.
You've been talking a lot. Let me talk. Is my turn? No. I was a little kind of upset with Heather because all she wanted was for me to actually upgrade my phone to the newest iPhone, and I had an iPhone 6S. So that's an old phone, but it worked just fine. I don't want to upgrade things just to upgrade them. And, which
I have to say, I mean, for, again, more context for everybody listening in, Rich, is a little bit surprising for you because I think you and I both kind of had a history of like, oh, the next thing's out. Let's go get it.
Yep.
I think we've both kind of calmed down a little bit.
We have.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I've just learned through my through with age that there's no way to keep up with technology nowadays. So why try? I mean, like there's just literally no way. It is an endless race of trying to keep up with the latest and greatest. And so I guess become more satisfied with the technology that I have and use it to its utmost. So Heather actually did taught me into buying the latest iPhone. So I got the iPhone XS, and I have to say, my wife is so wise. This phone is amazing. It was amazing. So we invested in just the really nice iPhone, because we actually had a couple other of our friend photographers who used simply the iPhone on vacation.
Yep.
And their photos were amazing. And so that's what we did. Mm-hmm. And I was blown away by the images that I was able to get just with my iPhone. So it was great because it's always in my pocket. You know, I don't have to there's not something, I don't have to carry around 10 pounds worth of,
100%.
Yeah. Looking back, I can't even imagine trying to haul our pro gear on a trip like this. We were extremely mobile. We were able to go and do and climb and hike, and it just wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that he upgraded. I still have my little 6S, I'm trying to be content with now that I see the pictures coming off of his thing.
I know. Yeah. I think she should use my phone more than I have used my own phone, because she wants it now. Yeah. She wants my phone.
Yeah. The cameras.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
So
no regrets.
This is good advice for everybody. All right. So the XS, which has, is it the dual lens on the back? So you had the zoom and regular?
Yes. Yeah. And it has the portrait lens in the front as well, which I thought was surprising. I was able to actually take some portrait photos of us with the background completely blurred out and look so professional looking. I was like, I don't know how that works with the front facing, because I know the back facing it uses the technology so it uses one lens to kind of determine depth, but only has one lens in the front. But whatever Apple has done, they've done an incredible job because I can now take a portrait of us or a selfie and blur the background. It looks great. I love it.
That's cool. All right. Well, this is good. And by the way, this is Workflow Wednesday, in case anybody was curious. And actually, for those of you who are new to maybe the podcast, certainly to the idea of Workflow Wednesday, this was something. It's been kind of a semi-long running show that we had going back at least a year. Is it 2018 or 17, Haylee, that we started?
I think it was no, I think we started at the very beginning of 2018.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we've taken, needless to say, a bit of a sabbatical, which is a convenient segue to today's conversation, which actually has to do with planning for a sabbatical. We'll just keep it simple and say there's been a lot going on the Photographer's Edit front. We're actually getting ready to launch another brand, another company as well. And we also didn't just want to be putting out additional content for the sake of putting out additional content. We were putting out already 3 episodes a week at the Bokeh Podcast, regular episodes. And we didn't want to just keep doing Workflow Wednesday just for the sake of doing it without actually having something to add of value and having a variety of guests. So it's going to be maybe a little bit more sporadic, but we want to keep doing these if for nothing other than Rich wants to be center of attention more often. And so we're going to make sure that we give him that opportunity.
It feeds my ego. And I love it. Well, I need.
We've created this series very simply to focus on workflow because where the topic of workflow, if you're scrolling through Instagram and you see a post about workflow, it's not necessarily the thing that you want to spend your time looking at. It's not the sexiest of topics. Yeah. Reality is that we all spend our time in one form or another on workflow day in and day out as photography business owners. And so we wanted to spend time specifically talking about workflow, how to create efficient workflow so that we can do more than just sit in front of our computers all day, every day. And so that is the purpose of the show, in addition to talking about Rich and Heather's vacations, of course. Yeah. But before we get into today's topic, which, again, has to do with planning for a sabbatical, we're going to give Rich and Heather an opportunity to be able to share how they plan to get away for, was it 10 days?
Rich, it was 2 weeks. It was exactly 2 weeks, yeah.
So full-time business owners, and still were able to get away in the middle of the summer of all things. And Rich is a wedding photographer, still able to get away for a couple of weeks, which is huge. we're going to talk about how you, our listeners and viewers, for those of you who are watching Facebook Live on facebook.com/photogsedit, or if you're listening on the Bokeh Podcast, bokehpodcast.com, how you can plan for an upcoming sabbatical, an upcoming vacation, and not get absolutely drowned in the process. We're going to get into that here in just a second. But I love small talk and just conversation. And I'd love to get y'all's take, Rich and Heather, on an interesting piece of news, conversation, or otherwise that you've heard in the industry in the last week or so, something that we need to talk about.
Yeah. Rich came across this really cool article that we were reading. It's a senator in Missouri who really feels compelled to do something about what he feels like, and I think a lot of us feel like is a huge problem today, is social media addiction. And so he has actually come up with a plan that he is presenting that would actually affect how social media companies like Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat are actually able to function. And there's a long wordy acronym for this, but he reduces it down to SMART, the word SMART. And so he's actually talking about the endless scroll features, the fact that there's no logical stopping place, which is one of the ways that social media companies make money. He's talking about the fact that when one video stops playing on YouTube, another one immediately starts. These are all behaviors that feed.
It's just the addictive nature of social media, and because it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem, and so it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting because we've talked about this before. That it's not getting better. The aspect of like being addicted to your device, of social media, that whole aspect of it, they're getting better and better at human nature and social media as learning and
brain psychology,
and learning how to keep us attached to our phones. And most people will, or a lot of people will have like self-control, be like, okay, this is becoming a problem. I'm going to disconnect for a while. But there are some who don't even know it's a problem,
or aren't equipped with the skills to handle the addictive nature of social media. So I think that the thing that was so compelling and interesting to us about this article was that we have the whole concept of a societal issue, or what some would call a problem, which is social media addiction. And then the idea of the government stepping in to actually legislate what these social media companies are actually able to do and not able to do. So the idea of, in college, we talked a lot about legislating morality. And now I feel like we're talking about legislating social media addiction, which I think is a very interesting, will be very controversial topic, because people want their rights and their freedoms, So
this is funny because I literally just posted about this article in my stories today as well. I saw it pop up, but it is an interesting one. And I'm curious, Haylee, you've been a little quiet. I'd love to get your take on this topic and your perspective on whether or not the government should kind of oversee this, or if we should just take some responsibility for our behavior.
Yeah, so I completely understand the thought process of us as a society and community actually realizing that we do have this addictive behavior with social media, because I totally get it. I can sit and scroll Instagram until I just get bored with it. And then I'm like, oh, I just spent 30 minutes scrolling Instagram for no reason. But at the same time, like if all of because I did go in and read the article, if all of the things that they were mentioning, like the endless scrolling and the autoplay for video were removed, that would make my experience as a user not as great. I wouldn't have if I had to go and find another way to continue scrolling, or if I had to click back and go find another video, I wouldn't spend as much time in the app, but I would probably find something else to do with it, which could in turn hurt Facebook, which in turn hurts other businesses that aren't advertising on there, because Facebook's costs will go up because not as many people are spending money. So then your ads are going to cost more money. So that's my
that's an interesting thing to think about here, and that it would significantly affect our economy. The way our economy functions now is greatly affected by our interaction with Instagram and Facebook. That's something I don't think I saw mentioned in the article at all. And it's definitely a potential ramification of a change like this. The thing that stood out to me was, there was a phrase used in it. I think they actually used the phrase freedom of choice, and suggesting that the way that Instagram or some of these social media platforms are designed, that it actually inhibits our freedom of choice, which is a really interesting concept, and not altogether surprising to read in our 2019 culture, where our culture as a whole seems to kind of lean toward this idea that outside forces are controlling our behavior, that we don't actually have responsibility, nor do we have the ability to take action proactively to control our behavior, our mentality, and then our behavior. And that was bothersome to me. And that's why I think this is most bothersome. I mean, the idea that government gets involved in one other thing in and of itself isn't altogether surprising, certainly. And I don't even see it as particularly bothersome in this case. What I'm more concerned about is the overall cultural mindset or mentality, which is, I can't control myself. So in this case, the government's got to step in and do it for me. And I think that's a really, that's a slippery slope to go down on multiple levels.
It is. Yeah. Once you give the government control, then it's hard to get it back. So,
well, there's that piece, but then how does that translate to everything else in your life? If you can't do something as simple as put your Instagram, close your Instagram app, or put your phone down and go do something else, you don't have that self-control as a 25, 30, 35, 48-year-old. What does that say about you and your character? And so that's
well, the next thing we know, they're going to call it a disease, probably.
Yeah,
right.
Really.
But they're doing the same kind of stuff with with soda tax of like, hey, we're having an obese problem in the United States, and to help with this obese problem, we're going to tax soda so that it's less attractive for people to get a Coke, and so in that way, government is kind of legislating behavior as well. Like, hey, there's a behavioral problem here, so we're going to make it less attractive by doing this and that. So I mean, like it can be like you said, it can be a slippery slope. Like what else are you gonna?
Well, and that senator also seems to be coming at it from an extreme perspective that it's pretty much always all bad. Social media. Like, I don't think that this is someone who's approaching it from a balanced perspective. Like, this could be a really good thing. It seems to be kind of one-sided. So I thought it was very interesting, though, for a topic of conversation.
Oh, very much so. And I'm curious to get everybody's thoughts. So if you're watching live, don't hesitate to comment down below. And man, it's been so long since we've done the show. So I have to remember, first of all, Rich and Heather Smith, with Rich Smith Photography, and Haylee Gaffin, who probably most of you listening in know produces the Bokeh Podcast and heads up digital marketing at Photographers Edit and the Bokeh Podcast. I didn't even introduce you guys effectively earlier, so I apologize.
We're only 20 minutes in. It's not too late.
We just jump right in.
Who are you guys?
But not only that, we are pushing this out to Facebook Live. So I used to say we do this every Wednesday. It's going to be more sporadic, but when we do push these out, you can follow us on Bokeh Podcast, so Bokeh Podcast on Instagram, and stay up to date on when these Workflow Wednesday episodes will be coming out. And you also know that we'll be pushing out to Facebook Live, so facebook.com/photogsedit, which is the Photographers Edit Facebook page. And so if you're watching live, comment down below. We'd love to know your thoughts about this potential bill. If you're listening into the Bokeh Podcast after the fact, and we'll be pushing this out in an audio version by 6 Eastern this evening on Wednesday, just send us an email. You can send it to Nathan@photographersedit.com or Haylee@photographersedit.com. What would be really fun eventually is to maybe do some live episodes where we read comments from our listeners. It'd be kind of fun to get into some of that too in the future.
Angry mail. I want to hear angry mail.
Why are you talking politics on the Bokeh Podcast?
Yeah, exactly. So I got a quick question before we get into our main topic.
Yeah.
When we all like to travel. So what is your main what is your main thing that you like to do? You like to collect something when you go to a new place? If there's something that you particularly like to do or get to as
a souvenir,
keepsake of that you've been to this place. Is there something, a go-to thing that you like to find?
That's funny. I don't think no, I don't. I mean, we take pictures.
Okay. Yeah.
Have conversations.
That's my number one is pictures.
Yeah, pictures, obviously. So,
but no, I don't collect. I'm very much a minimalist. I don't really collect anything. No. Right. Do you guys have something?
Well,
Haley's nodding her head vigorously.
Yeah.
Haley, what do you collect?
So I collect a couple of things. The first thing I collect is the currency. If I'm traveling internationally. Nice. And I've done it since I was a kid. My husband even has a collection of currency that he's found. Like, he never left the country until our honeymoon. Okay. And when we got married, we were like getting all of our stuff together, and we both realized we had this international currency coin collection.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Silly. But the other thing I collect is mugs. So every place I've been since I want to say college was when I started this mug collection. So if I go to a country, every city that I go to in that country, I get a mug.
Wow.
And same with my stateside travel. For the most part, there's been a few trips that I've didn't really see the city. I was there for a conference. I didn't get a mug, but if I'm spending good time there's a mug involved.
So she'll need a custom kitchen at some point.
I was going to say.
Space.
We do too, Haley.
We were doing the mug thing, and our cabinet is getting full. We don't have any more room.
Yeah.
So this was something you guys did as well, the whole mug thing.
Oh,
we've done mugs, T-shirts, and pictures.
I like the T-shirts thing. Our girls collect pins. They're starting to collect pins
and keychains
and putting the pins on their purse. So they'll have like a maple leaf on
their backpack
or their backpack, their travel backpack. So hopefully it will just get larger, just small little pins. You can just show
it's
all the
space
places,
efficient.
all the places that they've been, and
that's cool.
So anyway, I was just curious. So
Haley, but I think you and I may have talked about this before, but remind me, do you have like this fancy custom cabinet for all of the mugs? Like, how do you fit all of those?
So the mug collection is both a travel thing and like an adorable mug collection. Mm-hmm. So I don't actually drink out of my travel mugs. They're in a what looks like a china cabinet, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
And then
on display. Okay.
Yeah. And then I drink out of my cute mugs, like Friends themed mugs or Grey's Anatomy themed mugs, all the pop culture style.
Do you have a favorite mug?
Yes. So I have a Harry Potter mug that I drink out of the most, but it's not like, if you didn't watch the movies, you wouldn't know it's Harry Potter themed.
Oh, really? Is there a subtlety to it then?
Yeah. If y'all keep talking, I can run and grab it really fast. So there's no there.
So because we need to draw people in for the video version of this. So we want to see your mug. But Rich and Heather, do your kids are doing pins? And you guys do pins as well, or do you do something?
And they collect keychains.
And they also collect bumper stickers or basically stickers.
But you know what I just discovered that exists that I did not know before this trip, and it makes me really sad. So the girls actually got their first passport stamps. So we had to get them passports for this trip. This is the first time they've left the country, other than the Bahamas, which on a cruise ship you don't need a passport for. So they have a Canadian stamp in their passport. But I did not know, and maybe everyone knows except me, but there are passport books for the national parks. And the girls have been to a few national parks, and I just ordered them on Amazon. So they're going to come in a couple days. But we could have used them on this trip because we went to a couple different national parks, and you can get a stamp just like you get a stamp in your passport. You can get a stamp in these books that are specifically designed for national park stamps.
Okay.
Maybe like Glacier Bay National Park,
the Yukon,
and so
that kind of stuff. So
awesome. I feel sad that I wasn't prepared in that way. So maybe that's a little nugget. Someone's about to leave the country or someone's about to go to a national park in the country and they can grab one of those.
So what we just did, we just put in their regular passports, their U.S. passports. We're just stamp.
that next time that you travel out of the country, the officer is going to be looking through and being like, what is that?
What in the world?
What is that?
What country is this?
Exactly. What, a glacier?
Haley, we want to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says Grimald Place on it, and it's from Harry Potter. It's a little place that is, if you've ever been to Universal next to the train station, that's what it's from. Like, it's in London, but it's not in the wizarding world of Harry Potter. part of Harry Potter.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
That's great.
This is
I
my
like it.
newest.
What is that? Central Park. The
Who
friends.
wouldn't love that?
Nice.
The amazing things that those of you all that don't come to the Facebook Live video are missing out on: Harry Potter mugs, Friends mugs.
It's true.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and National Park
here's
passport
my
books.
Vancouver t-shirt.
Rich's Vancouver T-shirt.
Yeah,
Yes.
she has Catch a Can, the Catch a Can t-shirt. We love.
This is Alaska. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's Skagway. So.
Well, I want to, in some form or fashion, make this at least a little bit practical for those
sure.
listening in, and
Whatever.
kind of
Let's do it. Let's do it.
and actually make this a Workflow Wednesday episode. But as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about how to plan for a sabbatical or a getaway or a vacation, so that you're, number one, not overwhelmed going into it. Because I know I've personally been guilty of that, like just trying to do so much at the last minute that you're up until very late, and then you wake up exhausted in the first day, and that's no fun to do either. And you get stressed out going into the vacation. But you also don't want to be stressed out coming back from the vacation. So we've got some questions for you, Rich and Heather. Yeah. We want your insight, your wisdom, and your advice. And I'm going to let Haylee take this away and ask the first one.
Okay. Yeah. So the first question that I had in mind was, like, when you're preparing to go on these vacations, do you create a to-do list for before you leave, while you're gone, and when you come back? And how are you, like, what does that process look like for managing it?
That is so sweet that you think so highly of us, that you think that we're nice.
We really do. We do a lot of communicating the week and a couple weeks leading up to a vacation, especially one like what we just took, which is actually, we knew going to be 2 weeks long.
Yeah.
This vacation was a little different from some of the ones that we take because my family lives in South Florida. And some of the times that we're gone out of the state for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, those are times that we bring our laptops. We're fully connected to the internet the whole time. And that's a very different scenario than what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
What we had to do this time around was prepare for what ended up being 2 days in Anchorage, Alaska, a 7-day cruise, and then 3 days in Vancouver, Canada, all of which internet was going to be almost non-existent unless we were connected to Wi-Fi. We decided we really needed to be present. We really needed to disconnect. And we really wanted this to feel like a true vacation and break from work and from our business. So
we really wanted to be present because we knew, like, obviously this is not going to be something that we were going to be doing a lot. Like, we're not going to be coming back here in a couple of years. You know, we're not going to. It's going to be a while, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was actually very interesting. Even on the cruise ship, we would be going to these amazing places, and over the loudspeakers, they were encouraging people over and over and over again. So take one photo with your phone, but put your phone down and
cool.
and
be present
and take this in. Take this in because
I've never been somewhere where the cruise we've been on, this was our 4th cruise, and I've never been on a cruise before where it was just repeatedly emphasized
over and over and over.
Put your devices down. I mean, like the cruise director over the loudspeaker, be in the moment. Like, you're just, the surroundings are that incredible, that epic that, again, I know that word's been overused, but so anyway, Haylee, leading up to this particular vacation, knowing that we wouldn't have our laptops, we wouldn't really have much internet, and we wouldn't be editing the way we sometimes do when we go down to Florida or elsewhere, I actually, Rich and I communicated, we had shot several weddings leading up to this, which we send off to Photographers Edit, which has an amazing turnaround. We get the images back, and a very, very high priority for us before we leave on a trip, particularly one like this.
High priority for her.
Very high priority for me. Yeah.
I'm like, hey, the class can live without it.
I'm approaching this from an emotional standpoint as a woman. And when a woman has gone and had a photo shoot, they've gotten married, they've had a wedding, they've had an engagement session, it becomes a very high dominant priority in their mind and in their thought process of getting images back. And so he gets out of touch with that a little bit. So I keep him on track.
Whatever.
So for me, having all of our images delivered to our clients before we left for the trip was very important.
Yes.
Now,
again, she's way wiser than I am. I'm like, whatever. And but our clients like her a whole lot more than they like me.
No, I just know that I'm not going to be able to go on a vacation and disconnect mentally the way that I want to if we have clients waiting on images. For me, that's one of the biggest parts of our business.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Rich had photographed several full-length weddings before we left, which we sent to Photographers Edit. And as we got them back, we released them before we left. He had also photographed an abbreviated, smaller wedding that we wouldn't have had time to send to edit, despite the awesome turnaround time. We wouldn't have had, like, the window was too small. We wouldn't have been able to send it away and get it back in time. So I went ahead, because I so need closure as it relates to this. I went ahead and just edited that wedding. That was probably about half the length of one of our normal weddings.
Okay.
And so I edited that wedding, and and we released it to our client probably the day before, maybe 2 days before we left.
The day before.
I think the day before we left, so that those particular clients also had their images. So I would say for me that making sure nobody's waiting on images is the highest priority before we go.
Well, it is also just a lot of planning. I mean, we did have a year and a half of knowing that we're going to be going on this really epic vacation. So I purposely did make sure that the wedding that I did shoot, it was just a small wedding. It wasn't wasn't a full size wedding. I turned down several weddings, a couple from a week before the cruise, and then in a week after the cruise, our vacation, simply because. I didn't want to. First of all, we didn't know what our transition back from our vacation was going to be like, and especially when you're going across around the world, or for us, Alaska is their own time zone, so it's actually 4 hours time difference from us. But I mean, like, you just don't know what your body's going to react to. Once you've been there for a couple of weeks, you come back, you have jet lag. You're getting back into the swing of things. You just don't know what you're going to feel like. For me, I got sick. And so I am, Heather's and I was just so thankful that, like, I turned down work. I didn't have a wedding that weekend, and thank goodness I didn't, because I wouldn't have been able to shoot it. I was down for the count in bed, So
outside of, when you have, and I like the proactivity and not scheduling any big jobs before you leave, so you're not overwhelmed with having to turn those around really quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
Any outstanding images to the clients, that's really great. Mm-hmm. Any other additional kind of loose ends that needed to be tied up outside of those, really, I guess, the delivery of the images?
I think making sure that any money that we've gotten is deposited and indicated in shoot queue, so that our clients know we've received their payment. They're not getting emails automated by shoot queue while we're gone saying, this money is due, or you owe this money. Like, so we try to tie up things like that we know would be automated from our software systems while we're gone. Now, that can't be completely prevented, because some people did send money while we were gone.
So much money.
We can talk about this later. I think you've already skipped ahead to the next question.
That's fine. It's actually a great segue, really, because you're talking about communication. So let's actually jump to that. Communication while you're gone. I know it's easy because we have our phones. I'm lifting up my phone for those of you who are not watching on video, but because we have our phones, easy access to communication any and everywhere, it seems like. It would be easy to think, I can just, quote, check my email every once in a while I'm on vacation. And I know you guys said you were trying to stay disconnected as much as possible from electronics. So what did that look like? I guess, number one, with regards to like an autoresponder, did you set up an autoresponder? And then how did you manage any other incoming communication while you were out for 2 weeks?
So we did an autoresponder, and for the most part, we could have gotten the internet package on the ship. We could have had internet while on the ship, but again, I made a valued decision that I'm not going to go. Once the kids go to bed, that I'm going to go off to another part of the ship and get work done, because again, that means that I'm taking away from my experience, especially with our family, or I may be going to bed late, therefore I'm going to be tired the next day. I decided to just completely shut it down. We didn't get the internet package. We didn't even have a choice when it came to with no internet. So we definitely did an autoresponder. The autoresponder and sent it to everyone who sent an email to me. It sent an email back just saying, "Here, hey, I'm going to be out of the office. This is what's happening. I'm not going to get back till this particular time, and just be patient with me."
Well, and he made it a little fun too. Like, you're going to get a much nicer, more rested Rich when I return. That kind of stuff, just to put a personal touch to it. It wasn't like all business, boring, dull.
Yeah.
So I feel like even with that, when you get an inquiry from a client while you're away, because we've talked in the past about how we how the kinds of softwares that we use. We've done a Workflow Wednesday on this before. I remember talking about how we have certain apps that when we're busy or when we're trying to get focused work done, we don't allow email to come in during that period of time. Mm-hmm. But Rich mentioned at the time, he will still allow inquiries to come in, because we always want to be very, very attentive to an inquiry, because that is the first interaction someone has with our business. And so our turnaround time on inquiries has always been really good. But even with those, with this autoresponder that he set up that had a little bit of personality to it, it let the people know why he wasn't responding right away. Anybody who might be inquiring with us or emailing in general about anything, and just made it a little bit fun, and apologize for the inconvenience. And most of the time, people are extremely reasonable,
especially with travel. Yeah. People love travel. They understand travel. They understand, like, hey, getting away and being disconnected. Yep. And so the crazy thing is that when I got back, I started following up with these people who had inquired with me. Every single one of them contacted me back. Like, there was no ghosting at all. No ghosting at all. I mean, like, they're like, I was like, hey, is it too late? I mean, are y'all still interested? And every one of them was like, we're doing this, and we haven't selected a photographer. We're still interested. Blah blah. Wow. And so we got your auto reply. Like they everyone understood. Just everyone understood.
That's cool.
And to me, I'm like, those are the kind of clients I want anyway. If I want a client that's like, you know what, you didn't get back to me in 3.5 seconds, I'm not going to hire you. Then I just, or it's not going to allow me to be able to disconnect and be present with my family on vacation. Then I don't need them anyway.
So, but this is a very proactive approach. Did you have any sense of internally of like a FOMO of missing out on that incoming inquiry and not getting the job? Like, what helped ease your mind enough not to be thinking about that so much?
No, that's a conscientious thing. It really is. It's maybe it's a personality thing for me. I don't know. But I mean, like, this is the first vacation, again, like Heather said. When normally we go on vacation, I mean, we'll go down to Fort Lauderdale for 3 weeks. It's no big deal, because I mean, I have my laptop with me. I'm working during the day. I'm like, we're going to a coffee shop. It's no big deal. But this is the very first time that we've really gone on vacation that I did not bring my laptop. And I disconnected from the internet, and it was just almost like I'm disconnecting. So
that's so great.
And I think I just had to make that conscious decision. Like, what happens. Again, it all goes back to, like, hey, we plan for this. We're not crazy spenders. So like, we have money in the bank. It's not like we are stressed. We have to get this next job. If we don't get this next job, we're not going to be able to eat next.
This really does go back to your priorities and your value system and how you live. And for us, we live below our means so that we don't have to live in a hamster wheel trying to just,
being stressed all the time. I mean, like, it's just not
we're not going to impress anybody with our cars, but that's not important to us. Like, you have to make decisions about what your priorities are in life, and then follow through with your decisions based on that. And so
that's good.
If we were highly competitive, we're obsessed with our reputation, we're workaholics, we have to be the best, if we have these aspirations for ourselves that involve us being at the top and no one else, like, we can't let anyone else catch up, then you do become a workaholic, and then you can't take time off, and you are worried about what happens if these clients don't hire me, and what happens to my brand if I'm not posting on social media every day for 2 weeks. But again, that's not our value system. We want to run a business with integrity. We want to make our clients happy. We want to deliver fantastic images with a great turnaround time. We want to establish good relationships with them. But none of that hinges on us being able to be on call 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I almost just want to stop the show right there, because that, the last 3 minutes that right there is worth its weight in gold, and certainly our time here today. That's really, really good stuff from both of you. It really does. We can talk about tips and tricks and all this stuff all day long. It should really be rooted in a value system. Every single thing that we do. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you pointed that out. Both of you pointed out the fact that you're not stressed out about missing out potentially even on a job or two, because you're living below your means. So you've planned, you saved. You're not worried that there's only $2 left in the bank, because you're not living like a crazy person. And you've got a system in place too, which proactively you're able to at least respond to a client on a basic level and then get back with them when you come back. But this is good. It all does start with values, and I'm so glad that you all went there. We've covered the gamut really here. But Haylee, will you take the very last question? I think that has to deal a little bit more with what happens when you come back.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was wondering was, how are you able to separate yourself from work altogether? But when you do get back, what does that look like as far as being able to jump back into work and manage the work that's there when you do get back?
This is a good question, Haylee.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly. I've gotten back so I'm like being so disconnected is almost like a curse, because like you just realize, wow, like that vacation was just so epic. I loved just not being connected. It was like a vacation from being so connected to everything. At the same time.
Well, and it's funny hearing that from him too, because he is the epitome of an extrovert. So he gets his energy from being connected to people and relationships. Sure. And so, but I think that it was a different kind of connection. It was a real, genuine in-person connection with my family, enjoying being with my dad while he's on his biggest bucket list item of his life, enjoying the scenery and all of that. And so to hear him say it was so nice being disconnected is almost a little bit surprising, just knowing how,
But to answer your question, Haylee, it's taking a while. It's taking a while for me to get back into like the swing of things. So there's no getting away from emails piling up while I'm gone. There's nothing I can do about that. And so thankfully most of them was spam, and I could get actually there was a very few actual emails that I really need to get to. So, but yeah, I mean, there is a time where like I have to just sit down and put my nose back to the grindstone to actually catch up, especially with emails, because I mean, like people are, the checks do need to be put in the bank. I need to put them in the system. I need, so my clients will know we got the emails or the checks, or they got the communication with me, because the autoresponder isn't going out anymore. Although I should just put another autoresponder. Please be patient with me. I am very slowly getting back from vacation.
We need an extra week of autoresponder with how sick he was when we got back. But that's beside the point. I was talking to Rich just right before the live video today about how it really is a blessing that the industry that we're in, the service that we provide, specifically wedding photography, it is a luxury. It is not a necessity. It is not, nobody's dying. Nobody's had a heart attack and needs us. We're not medical professionals. So I feel like it's in as much as we want to offer the best customer service that we can and the best response time to emails and all of that, it is nice to know that at the end of the day, we have developed relationships with our clients. We have a great autoresponder email going while we're away, and nobody's relying on us for sustenance or any sort of physical necessity. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about, someone getting started with their wedding album process, or somebody inquiring. And the worst case scenario, like we talked about a few minutes ago, is not booking a job. And at the end of the day, there's still going to be like an communication. There's still going to be kindness. There's still going to be, an apology if somebody ended up hiring someone else because we were away, which hasn't happened. But if it did, we could still apologize and say we were taking a much needed vacation. And at the end of the day, nobody's really worse off for our having disconnected. You know what I'm saying?
We tend to kind of build ourselves up in our mind. I think.
Yeah, like we're so important. We can't think of anything. No, it's
the
really
world will stop spinning.
Let us refer you to one of the other 20 phenomenal photographers that are in our area. You know what I mean?
Like 500.
What would you guys say? I mean, really, like we said earlier, we could probably have stopped on your sermon there on values, because it was so good. But outside of that, do you have any other significant pieces or kind of a primary piece of advice that you could sum up your experience with, whether it was through this vacation or other vacations you've prepped for and come back from, a piece of advice for the process of planning for our listeners?
I think the most helpful thing that he is willing to do is, he already mentioned, which is not bookending our vacation with a lot of commitment.
Yeah.
That just takes so much pressure off because you can ease back in. And honestly, let's be honest, vacation is incredible. There's no place like home, but coming back to reality can be harsh. It can be emotionally taxing when you've been able to go do something so incredible. It can be, it sounds dramatic, but I honestly have a difficult time transitioning back emotionally when I've been with my family, who I live kind of far away from. Sure. And we've experienced something so incredible together. So just giving yourself a little bit of time, this is a domino effect. Again, if you're going to be able to turn away a job, that might mean that you have to live a little differently and not buy the latest and greatest of everything all the time, or get your spending under control, or not, again, live below your means so that you can do this, so that you can do that, so that X, Y, and Z,
Yep.
I feel like that was,
No, that totally makes sense. I mean, it seems like there's a general principle here of minimizing overwhelm by not overdoing it all the way around, whether that's the way that you schedule your work schedule, your upcoming events or portrait sessions or otherwise that you're shooting, or it's the way that you're handling spending. Just don't overdo it. Be proactive.
And I did schedule some commercial shoots and a game it session. But at the same time, those can be easily rescheduled. So when we came back, I didn't schedule. But I definitely didn't book any weddings. But I definitely contacted my commercial shoot and said, hey, you know what? I can't do this. Can we reschedule? And they rescheduled for me. Because so anything that was like easily reschedulable. I mean, I'm a little more, especially on the back end. Which is fine, So
I think the combination of planning ahead, not overbooking, creating a really good, satisfying autoresponder, and then communicating as much as you can with your clients beforehand, and relying on your relationships that you already have with them to kind of carry you through the 2 weeks or however long it is that you'll be taking a sabbatical or a vacation.
Yeah, because my clients, they're amazing because I'm personal with them, so they are. I have a relationship with them, and when you have a relationship with them, and people start viewing you less of a business but more as personal as well, they're more understanding. More
patient.
They're way more patient with because of that, which is great.
But again, we try not to try their patience too much because we're giving everybody's images to them before we leave. That's a criteria for me. So that's a big prerequisite for me to really be able to disconnect and enjoy my time away. Even though it's not as big of a deal to Rich, he respects the fact that it is a big deal to me. So I'm like, I'm just going to edit this wedding. And he's like, you do that, do what you need to do. So
you go, girl.
Yeah.
This has been good. I have to say, I don't want to push our luck. I don't know where you guys are right now, but there's a thunderstorm,
I'm hearing it.
Thunderstorm coming through. Yes. So I don't want to push our luck with the connection. We'll probably go ahead and finish up here. This has been truly, really, really good, very practical, applicable. For everybody listening in, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Actually, Rich, throw out your Instagram handle so people can follow you guys and also ask any questions that they might have.
Yeah. My Instagram handle is just Rich Smith Photo. So you can find me on Instagram at Rich Smith Photo, and on Facebook you can find me at Rich Smith Photography. And then you can also just go to my website and you can contact me through there as well. So,
richsmithphotography.net.
Yes, but send all complaints to Nathan. I do not take.
If you try to get a hold of us while we were gone and we weren't there, talk to Nathan about it.
And you're mad at me, it's Nathan's fault.
Come through me. Well, and to that point, for those of you listening in, watching, thanks first of all for listening and watching. But also, if you have any suggestions, ideas for upcoming Workflow Wednesdays, we do want to mix these back in. Rich was suffering great depression by not being able to be in front of the camera, and we don't want him to go through that any longer. So
I miss this. I really do.
Yeah, it's so fun.
It's genuinely enjoyable. And we really are going to plan on mixing some more episodes into kind of the slew of Bokeh Podcast episodes as well. So if you have suggestions for guests or topics that you'd love for us to dig into, you want to come on in and join us, just email Haylee, Haylee, at photographersedit.com. And
if you want us to do a whole live video on a show and tell of mugs, I mean, please let us know. We can do that for you. We got mugs.
Mugs, lots of mugs.
And by the way, there are a number of Workflow Wednesday episodes from the last year or so that we've done. And Haylee said that she would actually put these into their own category at Bokeh, Bokeh podcast.com. So for those of you who are listening to the audio, by the time the audio of this goes out by this evening, you should be able to find that. So if you just go to bokehpodcast.com, scroll down and go to the Workflow Wednesday category, you'll be able to listen to those as well. But thank you guys. Thank you everybody for listening in, for watching. Thank you, Rich and Heather and Haylee, for hanging out today.
Yeah.
It's so good to see you guys.
Loved it as always.
All right. We'll see everybody soon.
See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to the Bokeh Podcast. Will you let us know what you thought by leaving a review of the podcast in iTunes or the Apple Podcast app? And I'd love to hear from you personally with your thoughts about the podcast and suggestions about future topics and guests for the show. My email is nathan@photographersedit.com. The Bokeh Podcast is brought to you by Photographers Edit, custom image editing for the professional photographer. Visit photographersedit.com.